Hey y'all, what is going on? I am super excited because we're about 2 weeks away from the opening day of trout season out here in Pennsylvania. So I wanted to hop on and I wanted to make a video for y'all to show you the trout lures that I'm going to be using in 2023. This video should be good if you're somebody who's just getting into trout fishing, or if you're an experienced trout fisherman, maybe you're just looking to add a new lure to your tackle box or try something new. We'll have something for both of y'all. So I'm going to hop into this. If there's any lures that you like, you can check in the description and I'm going to have a link to where you can purchase them on Amazon. Now, I broke these into 3 categories. I have jigs and I've got spinners. And then lastly, I've got crankbaits. So I'm going to just jump into the jigs first and start off with the trout magnet. So these are sold pretty much everywhere. Anywhere that sells fishing supplies will carry these. Trout magnets are on a 164-ounce jig head. I find that to be really nice when you're trout fishing. I think it's the perfect size. And what I wanted to cover in this video is when should you be fishing each of these? Because I'm recommending 4 lures, and it's a lot of situational awareness, knowing when to use each of them. So trout magnets work really good in medium and deep water, especially if it's a bit slower, because you can cast in, you can jig them vertically, you don't need a ton of room to retrieve them, so you can really work them in those holes. And I've caught some of my biggest trout in those situations. I also wanted to recommend the Nico Caddisfly. This is also a jig, and it's very similar to the trout magnet. I actually have them both on a 164-ounce jig head. I'm going to fish them the same exact way. Now, this is a little bit bigger. So what are the pros of that? What are the cons of that, right? The pros are you're going to catch probably some bigger fish. You'll get more looks from bass, from crappie, from bigger sunfish. So really this caddisfly, as you get later into the year, you start seeing more bass and you want to go out there and catch bass and trout, this is a really good lure for that. Now the downside is, because it is bigger, your hookup ratio will decrease from the trout magnet. But those are both great lures and I highly recommend them. Now, I covered what to use in medium and deep water. Probably asking yourself, well, what if I'm fishing shallow water and it's fast moving? And that's where I bring in the spinners. This is my personal favorite. It's a Panther Martin size 2. I recommended this to a subscriber maybe a year and a half ago. He's told me it's totally changed trout fishing for him. He's catching trout all the time now. And I've had a similar experience when I found this. It's just an all-around great lure. It's similar to the Meps or the Rooster Tail. So if y'all want to use one of those, they should all work about the same. I would just say make sure you get the right size. Again, this is a size 2. So I have a lot of success when the water's moving really fast and it's wide, because this is a retrieval lure. So you're going to cast the other side of the creek and you're going to bring it all the way across. Also works well in rivers. So there's really not many limitations to it. But one of the limitations is that if you're fishing a small, deep pool, because you need to retrieve it, that's one of the areas where it can be tough. So again, this all depends on the type of water you're fishing as to which lure you should be using. But they all will catch trout. And I can vouch for that. They've all been lures that I've used for at least 2 years now. Now, lastly, I included something called the Bitsy Minnow by Strike King. It is a crankbait. And I debated whether I'd include this one or not, because quite frankly, I think the other 3 are better for trout. But I did want to include it because it does work for trout. And I've caught some really nice brown trout on it. I find that I'm catching more brown than rainbows typically when I go with the crankbait. And it's very small. It's top water. And I've had a lot of luck fishing this in medium water. I've had luck fishing it in deep water. I've had luck fishing it in shallow water. There's really not a time where it doesn't work. Now, the drawback to it is kind of like spinners. It's a retrieval bait. So if you're fishing like one small hole, it's not going to be as effective. Some of the other things that I like about it is that you're going to get more hits from bass later in the season. You'll get more hits from crappies. You'll get more hits from sunfish. So it's going to catch other things besides just trout. Now, you will catch some trout, but you also catch a mix of everything. So this is a really good crick lure, and I've been using this one for 2.5 years now. Just highly recommend it. I should also mention, all the lures I covered, they're all going to be under 10 bucks. They're very cheap. Now, those are the 4 primary lures I'm going to be using. If y'all have a recommendation for something y'all use, drop in the comments. I love doing lure reviews. And I love trying out new things and figure out which ones work best and then sharing that with y'all. So hopefully if y'all pick them up, you'll have a better 2023 season. Now, I did want to include one last item. And I discovered this last year. It's a total game changer for me. It's the Trout SOS 2-pound test. It's made by the same people that make Trout Magnet. And when I've put this on my line, it was just such a game changer because I'm casting farther, which is ideal, especially with the lighter lures. I'm casting further than I ever have. And because it's a smaller diameter than most of the other lines, I'm able to get more bites. And my hookup ratio has increased as well. Now, the one caveat, it is 2-pound test. So this line is really for experienced fishermen. I would say if you're new to this, go with a 6-pound test, or if you're bringing your kid along with you, you would want them to go with 6-pound, just because when it's 2-pound test, you have to be able to work the fish more. You have to have your drag set right. It's a bit more tricky. Well, hopefully this video has helped y'all out. I hope you can pick up some of these products. I hope y'all have a great 2023. So just to close out, I'm going to recap the lures that I'm recommending. For jigs, we've got Trout Magnet, and I prefer the color red, but you can pick any color that you prefer. For the caddisfly, I prefer a brown color, which is also a jig. And then for spinners, I'm recommending Panther Martin size 2. And for crankbaits, the Bitsy Minnow from Strike King. If y'all do pick any of these lures up, please put in the comments how they worked out for you. Hopefully they work out great, and hopefully y'all get on some fish. See y'all.